Hello, everybody. Today I have a very special guest, John Stringer. Now, John Stringer has got a beautiful story, and he is a very talented musician. But I'm going to let him tell you all about it because I can never give it justice. This is Karina, Break Fear, Find Freedom, and our beautiful guest, John Stringer. Hello, John. How are you today?
Doing very well. Thank you for having me, Karina.
Oh, thank you,
Pleasure
John,
being
for
here.
being here. It's
My
so cool.
pleasure. Two
John,
different coasts coming together.
I know. I love technology. I just love it,
Mm,
technology. I mean, what are the odds of this even happening?
right?
Beautiful thing.
Hmm.
John, tell us a bit about who's John.
Sure. So I play the roles of life teacher, healer, singer, author, and my wife and I have a wonderful company called Healing Arts Management, where we host retreats in different locations around the world. We even do songwriting retreats. Most of them are personal development, mind, body, spirit focused. We have some coming up in different locations, but we love doing that. We love supporting people's health, expanding their minds. We've also done intuitive retreats and things like that, and songwriting retreats. I'm also an author. I've written books with my wife, co-authored with people like Marianne Williamson, who is a wonderful teacher out there. She also ran for politics, had a little stint of that
Yes. So
political career.
right.
And now she's back to doing what I know her for. But also, I have a book called The Abundance Vibration, A Guide to Alignment, that sort of shares the core teachings that I apply to music when I'm writing music as well. So, live my life by listening to those and applying those teachings. And it's fun. It leads me to challenge my fear and let go of my fears. But I also was a part of a rock band that toured the world, and we had a top 10 Billboard single called Swallow Your Fears. Um,
Oh,
and
nice.
our mutual friend and mentor, Mark Joyner, actually got a hold of that and used it for his company for a little while as a licensed as a song. And we really had a great time in that rock band. Still friends with those guys, but now I've been doing my own thing. So having a good time, doing all kinds of stuff, and now getting into real estate development and just following the path wherever it leads me.
I love that. I love that. I love the synchronicities and actually following the path. How do you do that? Because I mean, we all talk about that, right? And we all want to be on the path, and we all meditate. Well, not all of us. And like, I mean, I meditate and I try and keep like centered and follow my path. But
Mm.
how do you do it?
So I found the practices that work for me. And I think that's the key is finding what works for you. Because I tried a lot of things all the way through college and things that didn't work for me and got so frustrated I just gave up. And that was probably the best thing I could have done for about 10
Right.
years. Because in that giving up, I was really giving up things that didn't work. And I
Yes.
was beginning to encounter and free myself to choose and learn from life in a new way. And finally, I realized, okay, I got to find what really does work. And I found it, what works for me. So I'm not saying, hey, I found the key. I just found it may
Yes.
not even work for you. That's not the point for me anyway. But I think the point in what's universal is we have, or at least what's universal in my perspective, I should say, is finding what works for you is the whole, you know, point. No matter what it is, if it works for you, great. Don't let anybody tell you differently.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
that's the
Yes.
that's the point. And so for me, practices I found things like just aware things that bring me to awareness in even this conversation. Simple things. I use different meditations I've been using that I kind of tapped into, like this align, allow, let go. I use that a lot.
Mm,
And
mm.
now it's kind of automatic. I just think it and it helps me expand my awareness, become aware of my energy, my body, what I'm doing, how I'm breathing, relaxing, and kind of just expands it to more subtle areas so I can be aware of and what I call align with this intelligence that we have access to once we expand beyond what's called limited conditioned thinking, right? Monkey
Yes.
mind, ego, whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
But I refer to my own limited conditioned thinking because I'm very familiar with it. It has
Right.
caused much suffering in my life, and that's okay. That's been great teaching too. But back to your question, I just use the practices that work for me, like the alignment meditation, things such as just mindful breathing, and sometimes just shifting my attention and my awareness into my body and relaxing. Real simple practices. They're not very complicated, but the discipline and the vigilance required to um, make them something you do from moment to moment is what I practice, and it's helped me. It's changed my experience in life dramatically.
I
And helped
love
me
that.
stop sabotaging myself.
Right. That's the biggest thing is sabotaging yourself.
Right.
And I want to, that's one thing. But before I go into that, which is huge, right? I love the word vigilance. Like that is so, and it's so because for me, you find practices, you play with them, and then you go off and you find other practices, and then you play with them, and then you come
Mm.
back, and it's been like a dance, right? But I love that vigilance. How do you do that vigilance? Like, it sounds almost like a army, like an army of
Mm.
people,
Yes.
like behind you, showing you the way and keeping you in accountability. What does it mean to you?
So vigilance for me has to do with keeping watch. So it sort of like, well, let's just look at the actual definition, right? So I know you asked what it means to me, but I want to start here.
Yes,
So
it's fine.
the action or state of keeping careful watch for possible danger or difficulties, right?
Right,
For me,
right.
vigilance is the act of keeping careful watch of my state of resistance or alignment. So it's like, okay, well, what is alignment? Well, let's start with resistance.
Best one.
Resistance, easy to figure out. It's like when we're pushing back, judging, suppressing all of that stuff. In alignment is kind of the opposite. It's when but it's more than that to me. It's not only just allowing and accepting and releasing judgment or releasing attachment. To me, it's also this state of watchfulness
Mm,
where
mm.
we bring ourselves into aligning with something that people name different things, but there's something there within us and around us that we can actually align with. And then our awareness naturally expands into the subtler energies, the subtler levels of whatever that is. And then we begin to access beyond our limited conditioned thinking, beyond personality. I like to call it genius. We access our genius, and it's a
Yes,
universal genius. It's not something I own. It's all of us. It's this interconnected genius. And then as we access that, to me, that's what gives direction for what, quote, I, as the personality or the soul or whatever you want to call it, is here to express and do. And then as you access it, it guides you into more of how to live the most harmonious life, right? Because
yes, yes,
and really the best feeling life in the sense of what's best for all concerned. So
yes,
that doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to be uncomfortable. It may lead you to great discomfort to
yes,
expand so that you can assist all in being in a more harmonious place, right? So
yes,
that's
yes,
been my path. That's what I mean by path, tuning into that intelligence that like I don't even know what to call it other than source because it's the source of all life, wisdom, intelligence and whatever, right? Vibration, frequency, you name it.
yes,
Um
yes.
But tuning into whatever that is, aligning with that and letting it guide. A lot of religions call it different things. I grew up in a specific religion, so I can speak that language. Yet I don't limit it. you know, like
Yes.
I've learned that whatever it is, it's pretty limitless, and I can't really make a claim on what it should be called. You know what I'm saying? But it's very but I'm finding it's very it's at the heart of what those who are seeking to opt out of suffering, it's usually at the heart of what, if they're succeeding with their practices, it's usually at the heart of what is guiding them and leading them.
Yes.
And I'm always fascinated by the, I won't call it synchronicity. Well, maybe synchronicity of what others are bringing forth. Like you can usually recognize it. Like if you're tuning in, you're hearing it, and then you hear it somewhere else, you're like, yeah, I know where they're getting that from. You know,
Right. Right.
like all kinds of things. Go
I
ahead.
know, and it's beautiful. And then if you look at it from the outside, you see the synchronicities and you see this pattern of life.
Yeah.
And you just realize, wow, it's beautiful. It's not about, I mean, the resistance is there all the time. Well, it's not, as you work and as you grow and as you tap into this, the resistance disappears. It gets to, I mean, it's difficult sometimes because the resistance sometimes is nice. People are
Yes,
addicted to
exactly.
it, right?
Yeah. Like the
On
suffering.
some level, yeah, they're addicted because now we can take that to the self-sabotage. It's the same kind of
Yeah.
thing. We're addicted to that self-sabotage because it just fits in with most of our stories, right? So if I sabotage my book or whatever that I've released, if I sabotage it, then I can tell everyone what a bad person I am because, look, nobody wants to read my book. Oh, woe is me. No one's buying my book. Meanwhile, I'm sabotaging it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the way I think of suffering and resistance is the way I hear about it, right? When I tune in, I'm like listening to that genius, and what I often hear is suffering and alignment, like our excuse me, resistance and alignment are both noble, right? Suffering is a noble teacher, just as bliss is a noble teacher.
Yes,
The
yes,
result of alignment is often dynamic bliss, whereas the result of resistance is often dynamic suffering. You can have light suffering, you can have intense suffering, extreme suffering, right? To the degree of which you resist, etc. Same with the alignment. There can be subtle bliss and incredible bliss. And
yes,
but what I've learned is both are paths to, like the path of suffering and the path of awakening are both purposeful. They're not they're not negative in the sense of like one's good and one is bad. It's like they're both equally noble. It's
they
not,
just are. Yes,
yeah, it's not a bad thing to suffer or to resist. So what I'm getting at is, what I end up hearing is all of it is like this perfect yin and yang, this perfect, incredible, intelligent design where we do choose to suffer subconsciously often, um, because it is bringing us something that is fulfilling. And when it stops fulfilling at that subtle unconscious level,
yes,
then our desire to opt out of the suffering eclipses our desire to keep suffering. And once that happens, we begin to choose differently and look for ways to opt out, look for practices that work for us, right? So,
yes,
and
yes,
it's a daily moment to
yes.
moment thing. Some moments you may be like, "Ooh, I want to choose suffering in this way." Some moments you may, be like, "No, I want to align and be present and feel the bliss of the moment." But all of this, and now I'm doing my best to choose in this now moment to align so that I can claim the birthright of bliss. And bliss
Yes.
shows up in everything, whether it feels like the energy of fear, like we label it that, but the
Yes.
energy behind it, there's bliss in it. Whether it's sorrow, joy, peace, doesn't matter what the energy is, there's dynamic bliss because it's all for us. Whatever frequency is showing up, whatever frequency vibrations we're choosing, all have something for us if we can align and, enter that state of acceptance, of harmony. We'll find it, but it takes some um practice.
Yes.
Takes some
Yes. Yes.
releasing of this conditioned resistance we're talking about to what's showing up. And then once you move past that, connect to that higher level of consciousness or whatever you want to label it, it can really help you and navigate in new ways what arises emotionally, energetically, in any way, even thought wise. There's four levels I look at: level of form, like what we perceive and the illusion is physical and separate and all that; the level of meaning, the thoughts, and even the subtle things that we can't give language to,
Mm,
we
mm,
create
mm,
in meaning; the level of sensation, how we experience vibration and frequency; and then a primary level of frequency and vibration. As we're able to align, we get to navigate those levels of creation in new ways. And then we focus on the primary level of frequency and vibration. And suddenly we're experiencing the dynamic bliss of form, meaning, and sensation in new ways. If we can focus on that wonderful practice of getting aligned, expanding our awareness, letting go of the resistance and the judgment, right? Then we get to swim in that. So I've been enjoying practicing that, and you know there's so much more. Like I feel like a baby.
yes.
It's like
Yes.
the baby's like, okay, I get it conceptually and I'm feeling it, and wow, there's so much more.
Right. But
But
it also,
it's simple, but it's not like something I can like. Yeah, I'm just expanding and grateful. So great. I was humbled today, in fact, just seeing how so easy to be fixed in, oh, I think I got it. And then
mm,
you start to see, holy crap, I don't even got it yet. I got it in one way because I'm experiencing it, but I don't have the words to like, I'm still expanding, man. So, all that to say, if anything I said made sense and you enjoyed it, great. And the rest, I don't give it a whole lot of like, next week I'll be like, everything I just said, scratch all that.
right.
you know?
But I
So,
also say, you know what, that famous saying, whoever said it, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. So people hear what they want to hear, and when they're
mm,
ready to hear it, they hear it.
damn.
Um, and I just love that, and it's also for me. It's also so interesting how you have to get to a point where you realize that everything you've learned is wrong.
Yeah.
And you think you know everything and you know nothing, and
Yeah.
then you have to question everything, and suddenly it's like, okay, let's start again. And that's a fun place to be, because then
Yeah.
you can open up to all those possibilities, because you realize that everything that you've listened to, your childhood, your beliefs, your religion, whatever it is, has just messed with your mind, right? And it's all been very good, because it's brought us to this place, which is a
Yeah.
good place to be, right? But it's a very exciting place to be as well.
It is.
So I'm loving what you're saying. I'm vibing with it, and as you said, you're so calming, John. I feel like I'm very
Oh, thank you.
excitable and very. So I'm sounding like, "Ooh, calm down."
That's cool. No, I love it. It's funny that as I tune into whatever that is, like just being present now and practicing staying aligned, the energy, I love it too. It's like beautiful energy arises, it's blissful, it's just pleasant, and it's that dance between um as the energy comes, what I've learned, the middle way we can choose is to be able to still just observe it and not get entangled in it to the point where we're way over here at this extreme, right? We can always come back and still entertain that, but still see it as the spectrum where we can
Yes.
still choose and and see this not being attached to that, in other words. So as it naturally and organically um, exists, we can then choose from the centered place of how we want to be, what's best in this moment, versus be attached to just this and be carried away with it, right? So that's
Right.
the lesson
Right.
I've learned through really the energy of what would you call it? It's like this fire type primordial energy taught me that lesson. Really, as the shamans would say, like working with the element of fire, right? There really is this consciousness energy of fire that got to work with and teach me that middle way. I was like, holy cow, now I get
Yes.
it.
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
you can choose bliss, you can choose suffering. It's like, and you can come back to center. It's like, okay.
That's
So I really love
beautiful.
that.
But
Yeah.
it's also, you also have to get to a point where you can accept that, because it's always been at some point that I've always repressed that fire because I've been so afraid that it would consume me.
Yeah.
That, like, but consume me in a bad way. Whereas
Yeah.
you get to this point where you can play with it, and it doesn't consume you, but it actually comes out, and it touches everybody in a positive way, and you can
Right.
help the transformations, and you've got, it's amazing. And again, it's about um, realizing that whatever you were taught and whatever religion and whatever, that's wrong, because that's what's teaching you that fear. So
Mm.
it's really beautiful, and I can see the way it is with, and play with all those energies. I
Mm.
love it. I
What's
love it.
interesting, I'll share with you a wonderful ceremony I was involved in, where for those who are familiar with what's called plant medicine, I grew up in a tradition of religion that would would not be participate whatsoever in plant medicine. And as I begin to, ironically, in that tradition, like I still honor that tradition, love it. I don't even judge it. Like I don't think there's a right or wrong when it comes to what they're doing. However, does it work? Right?
Yes,
If it
yes,
serves you, let them have it. Who am I to tell them
yes.
otherwise? But if it's not working for you, then hey, look for what does, right? So
Right,
it
right.
wasn't working for me. I found and begin a way to connect with that intelligence, the very thing it was teaching me to connect with. That it
Yes,
what it was teaching me was there was something that teaches all things, that is eternal, everywhere present, and all knowing, and that
nice.
if that I gave up my own understanding of life and acknowledged it and asked it for guidance, it would direct my path.
Yes,
That was the whole point, right? I
yes,
finally did
yes,
it. I finally
yes,
came through
yes,
and got into in direct contact with whatever this intelligence was that began to lead me. First, I thought it was my own imagination. Like, what is this? Just it was so strange in one sense, and then in another was genius. Like what I was getting was leading me on these steps to just take responsibility for my life and come into
yes,
harmony and let go of these old conditioned ways of thinking and judging and all fearing and all of this stuff. It really set me free from a lot of old patterns, and still is. Like
yes,
like today I was saying, this morning I'm noticing patterns of time to let go of. And through the ceremony I was led to, the plant medicine ceremony that this wonderful intelligence led me to, I had to give up my feeling of the taboo and resistance and judgment. And suddenly the plant medicine helped amplify the experience. I was already in tune, but suddenly I'm merging with and experiencing being that intelligence. Not only that,
yes,
but being music, being the creation, all these different things, and the separation began to depart. Even time separation. I was in an experience that quote unfolded in time after the ceremony, but
yes,
I was my pet that I
wow,
had at that time when the pet transitioned. I got to be the pet during the transition to experience with the pet. experience. I had no idea what was going on until came out of the ceremony, and then later that transpired. And I
Wow.
realized, holy cow, I was the pet at this time. Our dog Honey. It was the coolest thing. Just
Ah,
amazing. But where I was going with that is it's amazing how in those ceremonies and those different things, the lesson began to show me was whatever someone is using to find that limitless love and light, to find that love and that light that is the oneness, the I
yes,
am,
yes,
God, whatever you want
yes,
to call it, whatever someone's using to find that, let them have it.
yes,
Who am I to
yes,
judge? You know what I'm
yes,
saying?
yes,
So if those who are still practicing the religious tradition I came from believe vehemently it is the exclusive way and judge me, but still are able to find that love through that, let them have it. It's not
yes,
mine to judge. It's not my,
yes,
that's not what I'm here for, right? I'm here to find what works for me.
yes,
you
right,
you know, so
right,
that was a great lesson for me to just accept um even those that I knew were judging me for what I'm doing. I'm like, hey, no problem. You have every right to choose whatever you feel works for you, and even if that means you've got to look at me like something's wrong with me, that's okay.
yes,
That's
yes,
not what that's not my battle or even responsibility. So
yes,
I was freed from
yes,
that because I really felt like I had to justify myself and have a debate and tell them they're
right,
wrong and this, that, and this. Is like, nope, you're right. You do you. I'm gonna do me, and it's all good. So I was grateful for those gifts that really create harmony for my experience because I can't
yes,
create harmony
yes,
for anyone else's experience in choosing thinking, but my own. That's the quality of the thinking I'm choosing.
yes,
Has nothing to do with the quality you're choosing.
right.
You get all the freedom and power to create your own experience that way.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
You
These
got a
people.
party going on, I see.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Welcome to the party, ladies and gentlemen.
Apologies.
That's okay. No
I don't
worries.
live alone, right? You
No
can hear.
worries.
Now the dog's
Yes,
joining
yes.
in as well. Apologies, people, but that
Love it.
shows I'm working from home. So it's all part of the fun.
That's right. You have that freedom. Yes.
I have that freedom, right?
That's right.
Going back to you again, I agree with you because for me it was also like that. This is what I believe, and I need you to believe what I believe because if you don't believe what I believe, I don't know what will happen. It will be the end of the world, you know. So I have to believe. So I'd have useless arguments with people. Like, I mean, this is a wild where it's like, why? And then later you realize, why are you doing that? I mean, for what reason? We're all here on this earth to live our own lives, right? Just
Mhm.
let go. And people do whatever they need to do to survive and
Yeah.
to be at the point that they need to be and to connect with source or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
And it's their lives to live.
Mhm.
And if they judge me, you're right, John. If they judge me, oh well, they must judge me. You know,
There's
I
something
think,
that feels good at a certain level too with judgment because I did it for a long time. Still probably do it in subconscious ways, but the ways I'm
yes,
conscious of that I'm doing my best to choose differently and letting go. Those ways, what ends up happening, like it feels real good to plant a stake in a flag that I am right, you know, and that you're not. Like that separation we create at some
yes,
level feels good until it stops feeling good.
yes,
And I think as we begin to let go of other levels of suffering, we get into these other subtler levels, right? Like the gross
yes,
levels of suffering are like pretty easy to see, like, I hate black people, or I hate, Mexicans, or I hate, white people, or whatever.
Whatever.
Those things are easier to recognize. And
Yes.
then as you get beyond those and let those things go, there's the more subtle ones. Like, I hate myself. I hate my
Yes.
past, I hate the fact that, life is this way. Things like that, these ways that we create this more subtle separation.
Yes.
Begin to release that, what begins to emerge are these recognitions of not only the subtle ways we create separation, but what it feels like. We get more in tune with what it feels like, and then we can see how it serves, right? And we can have compassion for those who are choosing the gross levels,
Yes.
because in essence, it's serving them based on their fears, their limited conditioned thinking, and
Mm.
other things. Somehow this is serving them to be right and to judge the other, and to, it's
Yes.
often motivated by fear and misplaced love, right?
Yes. Yes.
Usually those who
Exactly
are trying
that.
to create this racial identification and superiority have this fear that there's not enough, there's a lack,
Yes.
right? And
That's
it's
very.
often, we got to protect our own and amass for us, and out of these fears and different things. And I get it, like, it is what it is, but it's just the programming that we bought into.
Yes.
But it's a kind of like a misplaced love, like, I'm gonna love my brother who looks like me.
Yes.
Hey,
Because
that's
I'm.
beautiful. It's just kind of exclusionary. And unfortunately, yeah, at times can be destructive in one sense, but in
Mm.
another sense, it's I believe it's harmless at the primary level, because you can't destroy energy, you can transform it, etc.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and believe what we really are is something can't be harmed. Yet at the level of form, it looks like harm, right? It looks like
Right.
death, it looks like destruction, and most of
Yes.
us don't really want to experience that.
Yes.
At least I
Yes.
don't. I'll just speak for
Yes.
myself.
Right.
But
No, I agree with you.
it is,
And
yeah.
and and
So
when you
anyway,
at
I could go
this,
on, but
I know, because when you're at this level, then you can see it for what it is, and you can say,
right.
"Oh, come on! If I just could show you, like, can you see that it's fear? Can you see what are you doing? Can you see the separation? And you know that the only person you can change is yourself, right? Like you were saying."
It's almost like you begin to, or let me just speak from my experience has been now, as I'm seeing that in myself and I'm seeing the reflection of it, like,
Yes.
I'm recognizing in others in a way where I don't judge it because I've seen it in myself. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
like the
Yes.
lessons of releasing those choices to continue that type of conditioned thinking and fear. As I'm releasing it, when I see it in others, it's not that I want to change anything about what they're choosing. It's more that I have compassion and can relate. And if they choose to want to stop because they've had enough of that choice, nothing wrong with that choice, it has its suffering, then of course I'd love to share what's helping me, but you can't help someone who is being served by what they're choosing, right? If
Yes.
if it if racial superiority is serving me at this subconscious level, I don't need help. I need to go through the choice and create the experience and receive exactly what that feels like until it no longer serves. Because right now
Yes.
it serves me. I can't
Yes.
take away what's serving somebody, you know? No, I want this. Okay, how am I going to convince you you don't want it? I can't. It's not my job to do
Yes.
that. But
Yes.
I think that's what experience has shown me is that I'm not here to fix, solve, help, heal, shift, change anybody. Period. I am here to change, shift, and choose differently within when I'm ready to, and share for those who are interested what has helped me when they're ready, right? But it's
Yes.
not like I got all the, well, in one sense I am the answer. That may sound egoic, and I do have all the answers, but in this conscious mind of me, it's like we share that, right? Like
Yes.
it's not like
Yes. And
this conscious mind and personality's got it all figured out, right? It's
right.
something
Right.
else that when we come together and share, just expands the awareness of what this infinite consciousness is, right? And it's a
Yes.
beautiful thing. So it's like I almost feel like I'm just talking and
It's
stuff is just
beautiful.
coming out. But the beautiful thing is, it's like I'm just
That's how it
relying on whatever that
works.
is, right? Just riffing with it. But I think the moral of the story I was getting at is I am grateful that it is taking me out of the polarity, and it's so humbling. There's compassion when you see what others who are still playing in the polarity and choosing in the
Yeah.
polarity.
Yes.
It's bringing me to more compassion to recognize that as myself, not as something separate, but as a part of me. And this is the word that has been coming up throughout our conversation. I haven't said yet, but that integration,
Ah,
integrating with all of what I am, integrating with and recognizing it as the oneness, recognizing it as perfection,
mm, mm.
and recognizing my own power being displayed in each instance of what I see, right? It's like as I do
Right.
that, I'm bringing this alignment and integration with all that is versus separation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I love that. Yeah, you said that so perfectly and so beautifully. I just want to go back and like you mentioned how we're not here to fix anyone, to heal anybody, to whatever, and that's also something that you have to come to terms with because you you have this power it's a very loaded word, but I can't think of another word right now. You know what I'm saying? You've got this power of choosing and creating your life and taking responsibility for your life. And sometimes at a different level, and I mean, now you become to realize it, but before you get to that point, you just want to share it with everyone, and you want to go to them and say, hey, look what I've got. Come on, change. Look what you can do. Look what you can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not a place to be. Sorry.
It's part of the journey, though. I agree. I've certainly felt that. I
So,
felt it recently, in fact, with we've been dealing with this wonderful technology that assists the body in signaling. And I've been so excited, like wanting to share it with folk, even Mark Jordan. I'm like, dude, you got to see this. You got to see. I'm like, all right, let's get centered. Let's relax and remember who it's for. It's for. It's not for everybody, though. Everything is not for everybody in that sense, right?
I've only really come because it's before. It's like, oh, come on, I can change your life. Come on,
Yeah,
come on. I mean, it is funny, but it's not funny, but it is.
yeah,
So yes, it's good to be at that point where you're saying, hey, this isn't for everybody. There's so many people in the world. Just like breathe, center, and know that whoever it's for,
bingo.
they'll just gravitate towards you. And that's
Exactly.
it's very difficult place to be on a 3D sense, right? Because
Yeah.
you've got to keep centering, and you've got to keep
Bingo.
vigilant. Again, we'll go back to vigilance. It's
Yep.
that vigilance all the time.
That's it. And it's a dance because I think those who have mastered uh like it's levels. You know, I don't think you're ever finished, but those who have mastered the basics are the ones who often exemplify and consistently show those wonderful lessons, those
Yes,
wonderful through their own vibration, just their own presence.
yes,
Um,
yes,
they're consistently staying in that place where harmony is coming. And the way I like to think of it, they've released the blocks that block that harmonious unfolding in their own personal or individuated, I'll call it, experience of that unfolding. And by doing so, whatever is arising in any moment, they're in harmony with. So they're not creating discord in that moment. And so the experience they have is one thing, and those around them get to have this wonderful, harmonious experience through their energy. They support raising the
yes,
frequency and the consciousness of others,
yes,
right? Just through presence, just through being, right? And then
yes,
as they expand their awareness further and further, they're able to choose that wonderful harmony and sort of be like this vessel in this dimension of the limitless love and light, the essence, the truth of what they are. They're
yes,
being this vessel and example of it. Marianne Williamson talks about as we shine our light, we give others permission to do that. It's like just the
yes,
recognition, not just of like visually in 3D seeing, but experiencing the vibration and frequency of those who are raising their vibration and frequency can assist us in expanding our own awareness versus being in this automated, limited, conditioned way of thinking.
yes,
It's almost like an
yes,
interruption to be like, oh, wait, wow, that's raising my frequency to a higher level. Oh, wait, I'm seeing this a little differently now. Ooh, this feels better than where I was. Do I want to keep choosing this unconscious pattern? Maybe not. you know, and that's not a way of like. I don't think our raising our own frequency and being present and being those examples changes anyone's freedom to choose. But I do think it assists in creating awareness because we're interconnected. As our awareness expands, it impacts those who are interconnected with us. As our
yes,
frequency raises, it impacts those who are interconnected with us because we're not separate, right?
yes,
So but
yes.
it's not as if we take away their
No,
choice or their
no,
will. They get to choose,
they
but
get to choose.
they may still be like, oh wow, I'm seeing this in a different way, and I still like what I'm choosing, and I'm gonna stick with that.
Yes,
And I'm gonna stay
yes,
right, right?
right,
And nothing wrong
right,
with that. But it
right.
does first and foremost assist us, those who are choosing this path of expansion, awakening, alignment, whatever you want to call it. It assists us in creating an experience that's harmonious with whatever choices unfold in all ways, right? And that alone to me is the whole salvation, if you will, or the solution, or the fix, or the healing, or the whatever you want to call it, that is individual. It's not mine to bring that upon someone, it's mine to
Yes,
bring to myself.
yes, yes,
Yes.
yes.
So I cannot share alignment with you. I can
No,
get aligned, share my presence with you, and you get to choose whether you want to align or not.
I
Right?
know. I love
That's
it.
all. And if you don't choose it, I'm aligned enough to know that that's okay.
Exactly.
I'm not going to resist because I'm aligning.
It's so
Right?
cool. 1 minute,
So
my battery's going to go flat, so I need to charge. 1 second. But
you got it.
while you're doing that, I'm thinking, tell me a bit about how you, so now you're in alignment, right? And you're just peaceful, and you're so beautiful, John.
Thank you.
I'd love to tell us a bit how you write your songs.
So
So,
it starts actually with that process. I used to do it differently, used to sit down and try to think things out and try different methods and had some success. But when I encountered the problem of writer's block, where I'm sitting over, this is after I had a top 10 Billboard single and I tried different methods, but I'm sitting there, nothing's working. I'm staring at a blank page for hours and suddenly realize, okay, I got to find something new.
yes,
Well, things just coalesce to the point where now what I do is on demand. I can bring through like limitless. I can't even. It's so easy for me now, but it took practice, right? And it
yes,
wasn't easy at first, but it was simple. So I found a simple method to use meditation to expand my awareness out of just the limited conditioned thinking or misperception of how I normally think, and then expand into this cool, I'll call levels of consciousness that actually have all sorts of other ideas that don't seem logical in one sense or reasonable if I was to analyze it from this level. But
yes.
then once I bring it through, it's freaking genius. And it supersedes the limited way of thinking that I was going about writing before. And so some people call it stream of consciousness writing. You can use tools like that to tap into this really field of information that's just limitless. Some people
Mm-hmm.
use multiple modalities such as color, uh, such as just listening and
Mm-hmm.
translating what they see and hear.
Yes,
I use
yes,
cognition, I use feeling, and I stream of consciousness, not just writing, but the words like will come through.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
sometimes I'll play and use the music to be the canvas on which I just bring through words. And then
Mm-hmm.
other times I'll sit down and I'll just bring through the words and write them through. But it's just really tapping into this source of inspiration that just brings powerful things. And sometimes I'll even set in what people call setting an intention. It's really like speaking or writing into what I would like it to be, almost like a request
Yes,
that
yes.
I'm giving the subconscious, right? Or my inner being, whatever you call it. And then by doing that, it's almost as if I'm making this order to expand and tune into specific frequencies or specific channels of information and bring it through that way. Mostly, though, what I ask is, okay, what's best and highest for all concerned for me to write? And then I'll tune into that and just let it come. And then when I'm collaborating, sometimes we'll try different things. So a lot of different ways um, I do it, but it all starts on the practice that works for me, and that's the alignment meditation. People want that, by the
Yes.
way. They can have it for free. I have a VIP alignment group on Facebook. You can just type in VIP alignment. It may say VIP alignment and accountability. I don't remember. But once you find that, just join it. I'll approve it. And you'll see the guide, the alignment meditation. It's a free 11-minute, 11-second meditation that I use every day. And then I use that very same thing at the beginning of songwriting sessions. It may take seconds because I've practiced it so much just to get into
Yes.
that aligned space and then begin the songwriting session. And I teach that as well in my collaboration sessions. And yeah, so that's how I write songs and
I
listen.
love
Sometimes the
that.
music comes first, sometimes the lyrics come first, sometimes it all comes together at the same time. And sometimes I'm doing it by myself or collaborating, have ways to do that where we take turns. Really enjoyed that with a project right now. I'm working with 5 writers at the same
Wow.
time. We call it the Reverence Project. And we tune in and just go around and take turns and have a certain system of where we tune in. And some of us also play instruments. And we've written at the time of this interview 11 songs so far, some in where I've paired with others in that same 5-man group, and then some where we've all come together. So
Wow.
excited about that as
That
well.
should be an exciting project
Very
to
exciting.
play with.
Yeah.
Wow, I
But
love
that's some of
this.
the many ways I'm writing music right now. Even with kids, I have a conference coming up where I'm writing with a bunch of youth and teach them a simple method to do it and let them bring through the lyrics. Get to do it with Wounded Warriors at the Wounded Warriors Week at Camp Southern Grounds here in Atlanta. Had many sessions with them, collaborating anywhere from 4 to 10 veterans at the same time. Just so fun, man, just to help people recognize and begin to listen because all of us can do it. We just may not be used to it or recognize how it works, but it's not that
Yes.
complicated. It's
Yes.
actually simple, you know.
But you need to educate. People don't know.
Yeah,
And then once they do,
exactly.
it's like, whoa, my whole life is opening. It's so exciting.
Bingo. Bingo. Yeah.
So I'm loving that. So I could speak to you for hours, John. Tell us where we can
Cool.
find you. Because you've got also
Sure.
in some music, I know you've got like recordings, and just tell people where you can find you for now.
Sure. So most of my music and books and some of the events that I'm involved in are on johnstringerinc.com. That's johnstringerinc.com. And then the other events I'm part of, including podcasts, the retreats, a lot of those are hosted on healingartsmgmt.com. That's the healing arts management site that I partner with my wife. We run that together. And yeah, that's between those two sites, you can pretty much find everything I'm involved in, from music to books to retreats to live events, you name it.
Nice. Well, obviously, all the details will be in the description box. And of course, your group on Facebook, if someone
Awesome.
wants to
Thank you.
find it. But John,
Absolutely.
before we go, and we probably know the answer to this question anyway, but I'm going to ask it. Have you found
Okay.
freedom?
Yes, actually, I like the way you asked that. I have found freedom, and sometimes I choose freely not to be free, to pretend I haven't found it. So I dance, but I have found freedom in the very things we were talking about. That freedom to actually connect with something that liberates me, or that knows I'm already liberated, but in my mind, I have to liberate, right?
Right,
So
right.
yeah, I mean, I'm very grateful for it, for that because it frees me from judgment, right? Especially self judgment and
Yes, yes,
the and just that suffering that comes from that. It's really freed me from that. So it's not like a freedom in the sense of, yay, I'm free. That's not how it feels for me. Sometimes maybe it does, but in this moment, the way it feels for me is just gratitude. Like I'm humbled by it, like
yes,
it's really a blessing that I sometimes forget and then I get to remember again,
yes,
and it's
yes.
very freeing. So yeah.
That's beautiful. And I have to also just go back. That self judgment is the worst thing. I've always had in my arsenal a huge whip, and as metaphorical, of course. And
Hmm.
that whip was I was the worst person to myself always. I don't know if you saw the Da Vinci Code where you have that scene where that whatever his name was was flagellating himself, and that
Okay.
was
Yes.
and that was
Yes.
the feeling continuous until eventually
Yeah. That's a
you
good
have to
example.
take that, throw that whip away, and you have to
That's right.
realize that what, enough is enough is enough. But like you spoke
Mm,
about before, you have to get to that point where it's enough is enough is enough. Only then do you
yeah,
change.
that's
Right.
right. That's right. And one thing I was going to piggyback on is while we're doing that self-flagell, or I forget the word, but while we're doing that,
Self-flagellation.
yes, um, sometimes it feels good,
Yes, that's why we do
like we're
it.
getting our kicks out of it, right? And when it stops feeling good, Congratulations, you can move on.
Yes, yes, because
Yeah.
then you keep yourself stuck, right? And then you don't have to show your
That's right.
light because you're this terrible person because you've made yourself really bad, or you don't have to do this, or you don't
Right.
have to do that. And you don't have to, you can
Mm.
just sit in a corner and flagellate yourself because, hey, you're this bad person. So it's really a cop out if you think about it in the grand scheme of
Mm,
things, but you don't know that
mm,
until you do.
mm. That's right.
So, well,
Mm.
any parting words, John, to our beautiful audience?
Good question. So, fear. What a great teacher, right?
Beautiful
we
teacher.
love we love to be afraid until we don't.
Yes,
And nothing
yes,
wrong with that.
yes,
But it's been a beautiful teacher for me. Still, it comes up in ways and I recognize it and see its value. And then at the same time, am grateful that I can choose when I've had enough to release it and
yes.
take the energy behind it and use it for excitement to propel me forward, right? So that'd be my parting words.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. Fear. Thank you. That's a beautiful metaphor for fear.
Mm,
Again, in finding the blessings within it, because there always
yeah.
are, like you said. Oh, this has been awesome. Thank you so much, John. It's been a
Thank
pleasure
you,
and
my
an honor
friend.
to have you. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'd love to have you on again. We can continue this conversation.
Would love to. Thank you so much. Peace to your audience. Much love. And don't forget that everything's all right. Fear acronym. Forgetting everything's all right. Don't do it unless you like it.
I love that. Beautiful parting words. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.